Questions posed by MP DeWeaver. The percentage of GDP, does the Minister of Finance have any percentage number of the GDP? Is the Minister of Finance aware of any overstating comments on the GDP? Is there any overstating of the figures coming out of this? Madam Chair, through you, the current GDP of the country stands at 3 billion guilders. However, based on discussions with stakeholders, concerns have been raised about the accuracy of this calculation. Currently, we have various GDP projections from both from the IMF and the central bank, which are aligned. However, they are based on data provided by the Statistics Bureau. It is essential to ensure that the data provided by statistics is accurate and complete. This matter has my attention and will also be a topic of discussion again with both the Statistics Department and the IMF during their upcoming visit in November 2024. I move on to questions by MP York, who asked about the tax holiday. And Madam Chair, through you, I acknowledge MP York's statement regarding the tax holiday, and I just want to clarify for everyone that the tax holiday was not granted before the snap elections of August 2024. I emphasize this point as such insinuations can be harmful. The second question by MP York, all ministries, how much persons are in Lobscal per ministry? Through you, Madam Chair, the Ministry of Finance has 3 persons in Ann Lobscal, 2 persons at the receivers, and 1 in the Financial Accounting Department. They will be eligible to go into the functional scale as of January 2025. Question 3, Mullet Bay is up for sale. What are the plans for the current government to buy Mullet Bay? Through you, Madam Chair, this article is indicating the situation, what was already presented to Parliament. As such, the plans did not change. I move on to questions by MP Arian. What exactly does it mean for the approval of a backup?
Minister Gums, just give me a moment as I allow MP York to make an interruption. MP York, you have the opportunity.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome back, Minister and support staff. Minister, you just referenced, through you, Madam Chair, the Minister just referenced that the tax holiday was not granted before the snap elections. Can the Minister elaborate on the exact date that it was given, please?
Thank you, MP York. Minister, can you respond to that query now, or Minister?
The exact date, I can't give the date in question, but I know it was September 2024.
Second one, same one.
MP York, you want to use your second opportunity for interruption?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you.
MP York?
Yes, so I reference to misrepresenting the reality, oftentimes with what's on paper, and something doesn't need to be signed before election for it to be an election promise, right? So I just want to take that out of the air of saying, oh, it's signed afterwards, so it's not a campaign promise, it's not a campaign whatever. We all know how promises can go, and just because something is signed afterwards, is the minister saying, through you, Madam Chair, by virtue of it being signed afterwards, that it has nothing to do with elections?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Thank you, MP York. Minister Gums, you may continue.
I believe I started with MP Arian. What exactly does it mean for the approval of a backup plan for the loan for the funding of the generators for GBE? What is the plan A, if this is the backup plan? Also asked by MP Otley. Through you, Madam Chair, this is a backup plan, as the preferred outcome would be for GEBE to secure its own financing. However, to be very clear, If GEBE can confirm to the government that they can finance the purchase of the generators independently, providing supporting documentation, and avoid passing the burden to consumers, we will not pursue this loan. The government has been requesting this since June 2024. As such, alternatives has to be found. The government is responsible for the well-being of this country's residents. A promise is a comfort to a fool. We will not allow 4 years to pass while keeping our residents, businesses, and guests in uncertainty. While GEBE is an NV, St. Martin has been struggling for months because priority was on addressing the hack over securing new generators, leading to the current issue with outages. If GEBE is able to secure funding, whether next year or in 2 years, they could have the option to immediately pay off the loan at hand. However, we cannot continue to wait idly, as it has been 7 months since these outages began, and we will not stand by while our people suffer in darkness. While we have temporary solutions, they are precisely that, temporary. We need to order these generators or engines sooner rather than later, and this government has proposed a concrete solution to making that happen. Next question. And many MPs have questions pertaining to the urgency or the deadline of the approval of the Budget Amendment 2024. Through you, Madam Chair, for the prison, an amount of 16 million euros has been allocated in the Dutch budget. This is not a loan. This can be considered a grant, as the prison is a co-financed project between St. Martin and the Netherlands. This amount can only be granted this year if the UNOPS contract is signed in November 2024. Should the contribution not be provided in 2024, it will return to the state treasury, and this contribution will then be forfeited. The UNOPS Phase 2 contract and the capital loan can only be signed and granted once the St. Martin's budget amendment is approved and positively assessed by the CFT. Before signing the UNOPS contract and committing the 16 million euro to be paid by the Netherlands, both approvals must be received. If the loan is not secured this year, the contribution for the prison also cannot be released in 2024. These two go hand in hand. To complete the process on time, the application procedure takes approximately 6 to 8 weeks. Therefore, the central bank would need to start the process by the end of October or at the latest early November, as the Dutch Treasury closes around mid-December. This means that there is an urgency to obtain the necessary approvals in a timely manner. As such, the urgency is to be able to receive the grant of the 16 million euros, approximately 32 million guilders, grant for the prison from the Netherlands, and the remaining loans for GEBE and the Mental Health Foundation, as these funds have not been included in the budget 2025 in the Netherlands, and as such cannot be sent to us in 2025.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social health insurances.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to keep in mind to help keep you and your family safe. The Atlantic hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th, with the peak occurring between mid-August and late October. This hurricane season, Be sure to put together a go bag, a disaster supply kit including a flashlight, batteries, cash, first aid and supplies, medications, and copies of your critical information if you need to evacuate. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
One of the things that I'm going to have to get reaccustomed to again is what is the norm in politics, which is the political back and forth. But I think we will serve St. Martin much better if we can all identify what the problems are and come together collectively and said, okay, well, let's solve these problems, because it was just a matter of months ago. And we talk about the hypocrisy, but it was just a matter of months ago where a whole nother set of ministers faced the very problems. So the problems didn't go away, but they faced the exact same problems that are present today. And today, the roles may have been reversed, but the problems remain the same. So I think it calls for some kind of understanding where we as elected representatives of the people can come together and say, well, okay, let's deal with these problems, let's get it out of the way. There is a lot of problems, Madam Chair, that is on the horizon for St. Martin. Not the GB problem alone, not the prison problem. There is a lot of other problems, some seen, some we can anticipate, and some we cannot anticipate. But it is our responsibility to come together. And that's why I refer to the not the opposition, but the minority representatives, because ultimately we're all representatives of the people. And I think that's what's important to always bear in mind. We've all suffered for the last couple of months under what we had to go through with GB. Every citizen of this country have suffered with the outages, whether business, whether private. You see the comments on social media constantly. So it's something that is the common denominator between all of us as citizens here in St. Martin. And I think as a government, as I'm speaking about of the executive branch, I think as a government, when you are faced with this kind of crisis, you have to do whatever it is, whatever it takes to ensure that your citizens receive, exactly like MP Shamira Roseberg said, electricity is a basic human right. So something like that. And I'm sort of missing the well, go out and do what you have to do for your country part. When do we allow, the government to say, well, okay, if this is the problem, you're elected, you're appointed, but, deal with the problem at hand, deal with the crisis at hand. I'm missing that. I want to commend the Council of Ministers, the Prime Minister, and them for going out and doing what they feel was necessary in the position that we were in as a country and as a people. I think that's what's important to send. That's the message that need to send out. So can we actually put a price on generators? Can we actually put a price on the inconvenience that our electricity outages cost us? Can we actually put dollars and cents to the effect that the people of St. Martin felt over the last couple of months? That's what this deliberation is about.
I just wish to make a comment at this time with respect to the motions that are being considered and those that have been submitted. Towards the ending of the deliberations, of course, as we have started to do, the minister or ministers will be asked to provide their sentiments on proposed motions. However, in the meantime, we have had dialogues going on between the presenters of motions and other members of Parliament in order to arrive at motions that can get the most support possible in the Parliament. So I just want the members of Parliament especially, and also the general public, to know that I will be considering, after the motions have been presented, to maybe put off the handling, or propose to Parliament that we put off the handling of the motions and the voting upon them to another time. Why? Because they are not a necessary part of the budget per se, but it also gives the presenters of the motions and other members of Parliament the time to talk about them and see if we can come to motions supported by as many as possible. I saw discussions taking place with the minister as well on some of the motions, just to make sure that not only the motions remained at a wish of Parliament, but also motions that can actually be executed by the government.
I have a bit of an issue with us putting off the votings of the motions. I know you're trying to accommodate the best way you can, seeing that we have a deadline, but we're still waiting on that answer to see what is this deadline, where did it come from. But as it relates to my motion in particular, of my sentiments, my feelings of me, and going along with the budget that is asked of me, I can only feel comfortable once I know that a relief will be given to the people. So I don't want to put it off, because it will affect the way that I vote. And it's not a threat or a bargaining chip. It's just for my own conscience, what is being asked with the 75.6 million being placed in the budget. That is why specifically I believe that this is the way that, in my belief, that I can support saying, hey, I then approve the 75.6 by bringing some then relief to the people. It's a balance. So.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurance.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurance.
Of MP York. And the one we have now from MP York, the one replacing the first one, so this has been resubmitted officially to Parliament. And I will read the motion. And it is the Parliament in its meeting of today October the 29th, considering that the preamble of the Constitution of St. Martin states, "We, the people of St. Martin, are determined to care for the perpetual maintenance of nature and the environment," that Article 22 of the Constitution of St. Martin mandates the government to maintain the country in a habitable state, to improve the natural environment and to ensure the welfare of animals, that in 2013, the Parliament of St. Martin passed a motion to protect Mullet Pond and its mangroves as a nature park, highlighting its ecological importance and economic value to the island's environment and tourism. Studies like the Ponds of St. Martin by Ecovision in 1996, the Carrying Capacity Study and the Tourism Master Plan, along with other reports, having consistently highlighted the significance of preserving St. Martin's ponds due to their ecological and environmental value. Historically, that St. Martin had at least 19 ponds as recorded on maps stored at the cadaster's office, and by 1995, the number had decreased to 10, and today, fewer than 5 remain undisturbed. That the current beach policies under the Ministry of VROMI, Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, and TIAT, Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, lack a cohesive, enforceable ordinance that can effectively regulate construction near beach zones, that zoning areas of ecological importance as national parks or protected areas can aid in maintaining the island's environmental integrity, safeguard public spaces, and support sustainable tourism. Therefore resolves to urge the Council of Ministers to demonstrate a proactive stance on environmental protection and management, particularly with regard to coastal and ecologically sensitive areas, by taking visible and enforceable actions. 2, to urge the government of St. Martin through the Ministry of VROMI to initiate and implement zoning plans that designate Mullet Bay areas, its coastal lands, as protected zones with clear restrictions to prevent destructive development in accordance with its Ramsar listing, site number 2270. To reaffirm the resolution passed in 2013 and to formally secure the Mullet Pond area as a national park with explicit protections for its mangroves and marine life, enforcing measures to prevent activities that would compromise its ecological health. To urge the government of St. Martin to create a comprehensive beach ordinance unifying policies on the VROMI and TIAT to better regulate construction adjacent to beaches. This ordinance should include but not be limited to the following provisions: restricting building heights and density near the beaches, mandating environmental impact assessments for any proposed development within a certain proximity to beach zones, mandating that public access to the beach maintains a width of minimum of 3 meters coupled with an accessible walkway, as well as protection of remaining pond areas, namely Welgelegen Pond, better known as Little Bay Pond, adjacent to the Bel Air Beach Hotel, Red Pond at Gibbs Bay, Great Salt Pond, and Fresh Pond, and to submit to Parliament within 30 days an action plan based on the conclusions, recommendations of the study, The Ponds of St. Martin, Sustainable Development and Management, and any subsequent official report that assesses the state of our ponds and goes over to the order of the day. Copies of this motion to be sent to the Governor of St. Martin, the Council of Ministers of St. Martin, the Council of Advice of St. Martin. This motion has been co-signed by at least 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 members. And so we vote on this motion, motion number 1 as submitted, and is there the need or desire for hoofdelijke stemming? On this motion, I don't see that being the case. So this motion is accepted unanimously. To return to Parliament and explain how you are going to give relief to the people with respect to the electricity here on St. Martin, because you have requested a loan. Not that I'll support this motion for the reasons that I just mentioned. It does not reach the most vulnerable, because those are the persons who are afraid every time GB tell them disconnection date is tomorrow, next week. And then they're all over trying to muster the amount to pay their electricity bills. So I hope my motivation is clear. And while the intention of the motion is correct, some of the statements in it are just not correct in this motion. And I cannot support a motion in which the considerations are not correct and the resolutions are not realistic, unfortunately. So after having given that motivation, we now go over to the voting on the motion. But I do want to remind the members of government that I am expecting that report from you within the shortest period of time. We go over to the voting on the motion. And I start by number 11. Number 11.
Omar E.C. Otley.
For.
Shamira Roseberg.
For.
Ludmila de Weaver.
For.
Darrell York.
For.
Richenel Brug.
For.
Egbert Duran.
For.
Melissa Gums.
For.
Grisha Heiliger Martin.
For.
Artwell Irian.
For.
Viren Kutai.
Against.
Francisco La Cruz.
For.
Luke Mercelina.
Against.
Franklin Myers.
For.
Sarah Westcott Williams.
Against. 4, to ensure that the Ministry of Justice will provide Parliament with progress reports every 6 months on the crime prevention, policy plans development, including key milestones, budget considerations, and adhere to the legal requirements specified in Crime Prevention Funds Ordinance, the landsverordening houden de instelling van een criminaliteitsbestrijdingfonds, and goes over to the order of the day. Copies of this motion to be sent to the Governor of St. Martin, the Government of St. Martin, the Council of Advice of St. Martin, and this motion is co-signed by a number of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 members. Is there the need for hoofdelijke stemming on this motion? That has not been expressed, and that would mean that this motion is accepted unanimously. Motion accepted. According to, we have had all the motions, so according to Article 57 of the Rules of Order, we now go over to the voting on the draft National Ordinance amending the National Ordinance Budget 2024, National Ordinance Budget Amendment 2024, number 181 in the Administration of Parliament for the parliamentary year 24-25. We first vote on Article 1 and its attachments. Article 2. Article 3. Intitulé, the title. Consideration, considerance. The draft in its entirety as modified by the Memorandum of Modification. Does any member request voting by roll call? Hoofdelijke stemming. There is no need for hoofdelijke stemming, and thus this draft law is accepted unanimously.